Hello, bros. I'm back with more books. I think I got 14 yesterday. I'm going out to get more today, but I have to wait till my boxers are dried in the dryer. This book I only got because of one thing, one reason. Gerard Way. I've been told that that I look like him in one photograph, but it's bollocks to me, bruv. Anyway, while carrying this pile into the room for the review, I dropped it into the toilet. And this book is now rubbish. Beyond the rubbish that it already was. I just delivered, speaking of deliver us, just delivered about 7 or 8 more true crime books to me mother yesterday. And here's another one that I found after I left and went to the Fristol. Catherine Casey deliver us 3 decades of murder and redemption in the famous I-45 Texas killing fields. Over a 3-decade span, more than 20 women, many teenagers, died mysteriously in the small towns bordering Interstate 45, a 50-mile stretch of highway running from Houston to Galveston. The victims were strangled, shot, or savagely beaten. 6 met their demise in pairs. They had one thing in common, being in the wrong place at the wrong time. The day she vanished, Colette Wilson waited for her mother after band practice. Best friends Debbie Ackerman and Maria Johnson loved to surf and were last seen hitchhiking. Laura Kate Smither dreamed of becoming a ballerina and disappeared just weeks before her 13th birthday. These don't sound like women. They sound like girls. And this harrowing true crime exposition, award-winning journalist Catherine Casey tracks these tragic cases, investigates the evidence, interviews the suspects, and pulls back the cloak of secrecy in search of elusive answers. The Enochian Tarot. The Truth About the Enochian Tarot by Gerald and Betty Schuler. I don't really know shit about Enochian Tarot beyond the actual tarot. I suppose there's a deck. This book isn't very long. I think this is just a guidebook to a deck that was released probably by Llewellyn. This book actually sells for $13-14, but the real value comes in the larger books explaining the Enochian Tarot. As I said, I believe this is part of a set of cards. Simply Godell, Richard Thiessen. There's a Tyson. Kurt Godell was born in Austria-Hungary, now the Czech Republic, and grew up in an ethnic German family. As a student, he excelled in languages. He received his doctorate at Vienna. A year later, he received his doctorate from the University of Vienna at the age of 24, and a year later published the pioneering theorems on which his fame rests. In 1939, with the rise of Nazism, Godell and his wife settled in the U.S., where he continued his groundbreaking work on the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, became a close friend of Albert Einstein's. The hell was it? What was he, a philosopher? I believe he was, but I could be wrong. Mathematics, philosophy. To complete this theorem, the world of logic. The Problem of Pain. C.S. Lewis. Most C.S. Lewis books still have value, so I pick them up. Don't think of hell. What is the world, oh soldiers? It is I, this incessant snow, this northern sky. Soldiers, this solitude through which we go is I. Walter de Lamar, Napoleon. Richard loves Richard. That is, I am I. Okay. Divine goodness. Wasn't this written after his wife died? Maybe not. I don't know. Or is that's a grief told or whatever it is. A grief observed. That's about his wife. Sorry. Kurt Vonnegut, Mother Night. I don't really know what this is about. I did see a copy of the book online, and it showed a swastika, so I imagine it's got something to do with Germany. 135,000 Hansels and Gretels had been baked like gingerbread men. This is the only story of mine whose moral I know. I don't think it's a marvelous moral. I simply happen to know what it is. We are what we pretend to be, so we must be careful about what we pretend to be. My personal experience with Nazi monkey business was limited. There were some vile and likely Native American fascists in my hometown of Indianapolis during the 30s, and somebody slipped me a copy of the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. I remember, which was supposed to be the Jews' secret plan for taking over the world. And I remember some laughs about my aunt, too, who married a German, and who had to write to Indianapolis for proofs that she had no Jewish blood. The Indianapolis mayor knew her from high school and dancing school, so he had fun putting ribbons and official seals all over the documents the Germans required, which made them look like 18th century peace treaties. After a while, the war came, and I was in it, and I was captured, so I got to see a little of Germany from the inside. While the war was still going on, I was a private, a battalion scout, and under the terms of the Geneva Convention, I had to work for my keep, which was good, not bad. I didn't have to stay in prison all the time, somewhere out in the countryside. I got to go to a city which was Dresden and to see the people and the things they did. Herman Melville, Billy Budd, Bartleby, and other stories. I like the cover art. It's very nice. I see it's on. Looking it up on eBay, I saw that it was on several of the old vintage mass market paperbacks, so would like to see one of those in the flesh, but Melville is not easy to find out there. I have read little of Melville and probably plan not to read much more. Miss Thistlebottom's Hobgoblins, the careful writer's guide to taboos, bugbears, and outmoded rules of English language. Basically, the entirety of English language is now a bugaboo. Or is that a bugaboo? Bugbear, sorry. Climb down, can't see. I don't know who makes these books, but this spine is so tight that you have no choice but to snap it if you open it. Truculent, those who maintain that the original or primary meaning of a word is the only true meaning would do well to ponder the word truculent. Almost every dictionary, in an unusual case of multiple blindness, defines the word as meaning savage, cruel, barbarous, or something of the sort, but it is difficult to find the word used in that sense. Some authorities go on to say that it is sometimes erroneously used to mean base or mercenary. It is even more difficult to find examples of that use. American Heritage and Webster's New World, however, have seen the light. Heritage says that 86% of its usage panel approves the newer, milder sense synonymous with pugnacious, defiant, or surly. That, of course, is just about the only sense in which the word is used these days, regardless of its derivation or original meaning. Through the Vanishing Point. Space and Poetry and Painting. And I probably would not have purchased this if it had not something to do with Marshall McLuhan and Harley Parker. Or maybe they're just two of the people that are involved in this. What if people just pick it up just for McLuhan? Or did he write most of this? I guess we don't know until we look at it. Anyway, I bought it because of Marshall McLuhan, just because he's worth money in general. I'd have to look up a synopsis because I'm not going to read through this to figure out what they're doing. Anyways, that's why I picked that up, Marshall McLuhan. Clive Barker, Apparat, the New York Times bestseller. course, one of the few books that I found at the thrift store, one of the thrift stores I went to, was tossed into a trough along with other books. And this one, of course, was in a position as such that the cover became creased and the spine torn, cover torn from the spine at the bottom half. Clive Barker's mostly boring to me, but the book seems somewhat interesting if you like this childish medieval bullshit art. Manga art now. Somewhat boring. I don't know who did the art. Maybe Barker himself did it. Boring to me, but paintings by the author. There we go. He's a painter. Oh, such wonderful paintings. Boring. Boring. Very boring. I like chicken. That's okay. Boring. 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 It's a cat, so I can't say boring. Boring. Too cartoonish. Boring. Cats. Cats I like no matter what. Boring. 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 Not as boring as that Faye Kikalowski or whatever her name was. The phallic woman. Boring. Anyway. Very riveting. The Suburban Wayne County 2012-2013 phone book. But it's only for businesses, so not sure what that's about. But I got it anyways, just because old not dictionaries, but old phone books tend to sell for good money, and this one's approaching old as it's 11 years old. Bewitched Forever. I got this one to resell. Not to mention that Bewitched was a decent show. Elizabeth Montgomery was hot. And the two dicks were always in competition with the public. Very interesting show. What's this? We got a little thing of some little guy, 2005. Is that little Grammy's little baby? Must be Grammy's little baby. Who else would have a book on Bewitched besides a Grammy? Grandmama, this witch is for hire, this witch on fire. Agnes Moorehead. Bewitched is distorted from reality, and nothing is as dull as constant reality. Thanks, Agnes. Arcade Fever falls into the same vintage kitsch mode as Bewitched. Both worth money. Not a lot, but a 10 spot or so. Includes tributes to Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Dragon's Lair. See if it's got Amadar in here. If it doesn't, this book is shit. There's Dig Dug. My brother was a champion at Dig Dug. I was pretty good at it. I was good at Miss Pac-Man, too. Are these in order? No. Centipede. That's a pretty good game. See if Amadar is in here. One of my favorite games of all time, Amadar. I'm going to guess it's not in here. Dig Dug, Joust, Cubert, Tron, Zaxxon. I hated those games. Don't see Amador. 154. Kind of book doesn't have Amador. Doesn't even mention it. How dare you? It's a cool Atari shirt. Cubit, Moon Patrol, Joust. Another game I didn't like. Canton's Country Schools. I already have one copy of this book. And this one's got lots of scribbles on it. What does this say? Diary? Dude, somebody just used this as a Alice Collins. Frumpy. Quite frumpy, Alice. I've used this book. As I said, I have a copy with a very creased spine. Down the hill we slide. It's a great little book of basically. Look at this teacher. She looks destroyed herself. Look how unhappy she looks. Look at her face. It's like, God save me. I'm the queen. This kid right here is. These kids look. Who's that teacher? Alta Fisher. Alta Fisher is destroyed. I believe that's the museum now in Canton. Anyway, I've used this for my research of a family named Knapp, who I found a collection of photos and ephemera from. Anyway, my copy is not so great, but I'll probably sell this one and keep my not so great copy that I'm going to wreck anyway. So yeah, local history. Great stuff. Lots of photos. Barkhouse. Bartlett School. There's a lot of photos. A lot of class photos. All right, I won't belabor the point any longer. Goodbye.